Really, man? Area rankings? Jesus, I thought these tier list memes died last year. And best? Why are you using words like worst and best? Like, come on, man. Couldn't you have titled it My Favorite Hollow Knight Areas? Or Hardest Hollow Knight Areas? Or Top 10 Pieces of Gum I Found at the Bottom of This Fucking Barrel I'm Scraping? Calling all DEEPNEST divers, Steel Soul strivers, God Home survivors, and lore archivers. I'm sorry. A whole month of getting sidetracked with school and jobs and whatever else I can think of, and the first thing I have the balls to joke about when coming back is my own lack of damage control. Here, I can make it up to you. For months I've been receiving requests about some of my favorite Hollow Knight areas, and assuming these viewers are still around, I'm gonna take this opportunity to mark another request off my list. I'm also not gonna be listing sub-areas like the Weaver's Den or Soul Sanctum or anything like that. Basically, if it ain't big enough to have its own section on the map, it ain't gonna be on the list. Otherwise, this shit's gonna be 30 minutes long. Okay, screw this long ass intro. Let's just go. Let's just go. I don't even know where else I would put this area except at the very bottom of the list, just because of the limited scope of things Dirtmouth has for you to do. 90% of the area you've already dusted over learning the controls at the very beginning of the game, and once that's over, aside from any DLC quest lines, there's seldom ever a reason to even come back. It's the Hallow Nest supermarket. You wake up, you take your trusty stag over to Sly's international warehouse of goodies and shit to bulk up on stuff you probably don't even need before heading out to tackle the Waterways. And like an actual real-life supermarket, it never even crosses your mind until you're ready to stock up again. I feel really limited as to what I can say about Dirtmouth, partly because I feel like this area was sort of designed to be boring. You're not supposed to be spending a lot of time here when all the sights to be seen are below you in the breadth of the kingdom. It's a platformer, not a fucking Walmart simulator. And speaking of the Waterways, it's time to once again take the piss out of one of my least favorite, most cliched and oversaturated video game tropes in the past 30 years since the invention of the fucking health bar: sewer levels. The Royal Waterways are quite literally full of shit, and I'm not just saying that because it's a sewer. Sewer levels and I have never really gotten along, and that's part in due because they're just disgusting. You spend what feels like hours toiling through piss water being eaten by carrots that grew teeth before activating a giant lever that feels like you're flushing a toilet the size of a house. It's a hopeless feeling foraging through oceans of plastic cans and junk pits and going down a tunnel you think is an escape only to find out you've carelessly waltzed into the lair of a giant E. coli germ. I exited this level feeling the greatest sense of relief and solitude after wading through a city-sized urinal, and the first thing I did on my way down to the Basin was pause the game and take a fucking shower. The Howling Clifts, with its howling winds, is a howling no man's land with dream warriors, critters, creepy crawlies, wide open chasms, and giant craters of nothing fucking else. Much like Dirtmouth, the amount of times necessary to visit the Howling Clifts are countable on a person's single hand. Fight Gorb, light the troop fire, steal away with Joni's charm, and chat up the nail master for your nail art, and bam, you're Dunyan rings. That's just about any and all reasons you would ever have to visit the cliffs, and you can get literally all of that done in one fell swoop that'll take you about 10 minutes. Now all that's left to do is waste time finding the absolute highest point to dive off of and see how long it takes you to reach the floor because you're just that fucking bored. The resting grounds are the most appropriately named biome in the entire kingdom because nothing makes me want to doze off quicker than being lectured about the meaninglessness of my journey by a trio of ethereal jellyfish that think they can tell me how to live my life. Piss off. The resting grounds are only slightly more exciting than any of the preceding areas on my list because at least you can actually find cool shit here. It's the home of the famed delicate flower quest that you can and will fail 50 times over, so at least you have more than a couple reasons to return. Not to mention you've also got two of my favorite charms in the game hidden here, which is the Dream Shield and the Soul Eater. You've got menacing looking tomb husks that blow your face off if you get too close to them, and as motivated as I was to hurry up and move to the next area, I gotta admit I spent more time just chilling beside my unnamed friend here in the Blue Lake because, spoilers, it really does have a therapeutic view. So therapeutic in fact that I screenshotted it and made it my wallpaper. How are the Crossroads this forgotten when it's almost mandatory that you enter the kingdom through this area? They're called Crossroads for a reason? Getting to the rest of Hallow Nest in a way that doesn't involve passing through this area is damn near impossible. You've got the cliffs and the peak respectively to your left and right, but why take a scenic route through the back-ass crevices of butt-ass nowhere when the front door is presenting itself to you right before your fucking face? It's one of the larger biomes, and it's also the first level you're going to visit, making it a place for you to find your bearings and get a hang of how the game works and stuff. But all that really means is, as interesting, as cool as it's going to be hashing out your first splunking expedition, you're still going to be spending a hell of a lot of time here, and halfway through the game you'll have already seen extraordinary sights and enemies that nothing this close to the surface can really hold a candle to. I can't decide whether the Greenpath sounds like a really shitty healthcare company or an unmarked road leading to a cannabis market in the middle of Colorado. The Greenpath gives you that excitement of progression after the forgotten Crossroads. It's a new area and an indication that you are indeed heading in the right direction. It continues to be exciting for like 2 more minutes until you eventually grow exhausted of seeing plants from the Mesozoic era extending through every crevice and engulfing pretty much everything in the scene, and the excitement of discovering a new area quickly devolves into an irking sense of get me the fuck out of here by the 27th time you accidentally misjudge a jump and take a dive into an acid pool, and you better get used to that because it's not gonna get any better. As much shit as I've thrown at the DEEPNEST, I didn't have the heart to put it that far down on here. The DEEPNEST is annoying and creepy and moist and dangerous and deserves all the derision it gets, and I walk around with an irritating paranoia for the next 20 minutes that the next rock I walk past is gonna sprout legs and start eating me. But that's only the DEEPNEST doing its job. The DEEPNEST is supposed to be all of those things I just listed, and I can't really criticize it for simply working as intended. That would be like turning your volume up in your headphones and getting mad about your ensuing deafness. It makes you appreciate it for what it is, and what it is a horrifying, nightmare-enabling, wet, humid cave of loneliness and stalagmites. The Fog Canyon is, honestly, it's a fine area. What at first feels like only a transitional area from one biome to the next eventually ends up widening into a blanket of mystery and explosive jellyfish. I don't know why I said that like it was some exciting discovery, because the truth is, this biome houses some of the most sadistic, no-holds-barred, piss-me-off and kick-my-ass platforming to have ever existed in Hallownest. From getting tasered by groups of butterflies to getting your ass blown apart by heat-seeking man-o'-wars, the feeling of claustrophobia was with me from the moment I arrived to the moment I fucking left. However, the idea of there being a giant library buried beneath the epicenter of a foggy, smoky wasteland is kinda cool to me, so claustrophobia aside, I'll give the Fog Canyon the 8 spot. Sure, why not? I probably put this 3 spots higher than it should have been, so I at least better get some fucking praise for not opening this section with a lame, overdone, fun guy joke like everyone probably expected me to. I think the wastes have some of my favorite enemies and death animations in Hollow Knight. Deflating giant pus-spewing balloons and hearing the battle cries of sentient mushrooms do a great job adding comic relief to the otherwise doom and gloom of slashing your way through a dying kingdom and killing the few peaceful residents left in this godforsaken ghost town. Well, I do regretfully admit it took me way too long to find out that this door actually only led to one of the elevators in the City of Tears, and well, that kind of pissed me off a little, but it does contain some of my favorite architecture and also one of my favorite boss fights in the game, so I can't talk that much shit about it. The City of Tears is beginning that giant day-long task you've been putting off for more than a couple days. You know it's big as shit, and you know you're gonna need to cancel all your plans and flush your schedule just to get a good start on it. There's a lot of shit you need to find in this area. This is the central metropolis of Hallownest, and you can get to almost anywhere in the kingdom from here. The architecture of the city looks cool as hell, and it probably has some of my favorite level design in the game. You've got bosses, you've got side quests, main quests, upgrades. There's a decent-sized agenda of things to do here to keep you busy. And the only reason I'm putting the City of Tears here instead of a higher spot is because you are going to be spending a fuck of a lot of time here, and these spiraling corridors and elevators and ornate decor and these slap-fighting strawberries are all going to get really fucking old really quick once you've seen them for the 78th time. The Crystal Peak is a nice surprise if you weren't expecting it. It's the down the shaft Alice in Wonderland biome where you destroy a fragile floor, fall 20 feet, look around, and suddenly notice you're in a totally different area, complete with razor-sharp crystalline hazards, pissed-off miners, and conveyor belts that top out around the speed of turtles fucking. If it weren't for the motorized junk compilers and the fat asshole guarding the community bench upstairs, I probably could have argued the Crystal Peak as a 3 or even a 2, but sadly here we are. I was one of the unlucky ones because I entered the Crystal Peak of the traditional way by breaking the floor and starting at the very bottom floor of the level, having to spelunk my way up to Cornifer's buzz mosquito looking ass just so I could get my hands on a fucking map. So I guess my experiences have made me a tad biased, but all in all, it's still a pretty cool place to waste time, so. I can't shake the notion of there being a full-scale colony, nay, a civilization of bees living underground beneath cities and bridges and trams and shit. Then again, the idea of cities and bridges and trams and infrastructures built by fucking bugs yards underground sorta doesn't make sense in general. I'm not about to go all ecology expert on this video because then I'd be here for the next few days listing off things that don't make sense, like talking fucking mushrooms. There, that's another good one. But the Hive feels unexpected and very out of place, and I think that's why I like it so much. The area itself, I mean. The bee-based enemies are some of the most annoying uncle fuckers I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with. Bee drills that got their moveset straight out of Pokemon, and giant fat yellow jackets that got their moveset from a fucking wrestling magazine. The Hive Knight is a bitch. He's a blunt, blisteringly bodacious capital B blowhard, besieged and bereft of any and all beauty. He doesn't befriend beginners, and he can choke on his own beeswax. Blow me. Again, another area I've taken the piss out of more than a couple times, addressing the particularly annoying aspid enemies and the challenging as fuck platforming that will have you plummeting down to the bottom of the cave trying to land on a platform. But the Kingdom's Edge has got to be one of my favorite places to just explore and just chill. The wide open chasms and dangers afoot really do feel like you're venturing out into no man's land away from even a semblance of civilization. It's got a really foreboding soundtrack that gives you the impression that you're far away from safety and are on the verge of stumbling into something really significant, which is fitting because the Kingdom's Edge is where a huge portion of the main quest actually unravels. My only complaint is that it would have been 10 times more enjoyable had it not been invaded by such abominable piss-flinging fruit flies. I'd sooner take a liking to this area if I didn't have to spend so much time dodging around these pogo-legged freaks and involuntarily getting my head soaked with bright yellow radioactive rectal fluid, or whatever the fuck they're shooting at. I don't know. Whatever. Next. Be careful with the Queen's Gardens, kids. It sounds like peaceful, pleasant playtime in the flowers, but this place will bend you over and make you feel like the useless heel end of the bread loaf. These gardens don't play. They've got mantis warriors, falling platforms, bushes that throw deadly carrots at you, and a fourth mantis lord that got so drunk with power that he went rogue and started building his own society. The level design and hazards and platforming, they're cool and all, but I think the story behind the gardens is what makes it so interesting. This is also where the delicate flower side quest reaches its end, and you actually figure out upon delivering the flower to the Trader Mantis's daughter that she had a love interest with Zamir, the warrior that tasked you with the delivery in the first place. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure they hired scientists and psychologists to aid in placing platforms, enemies, and sculpting the boss's moveset in such a way that gets under the thickest skin, because on God, if the Trader Lord drove me up the wall any faster, I'd need a steering wheel and a fucking GPS. The ancient Basin is the ground zero of all of Hallownest's chaos. It's where all the main attractions lie dormant below the rest of the game's content, and it makes the Queen's Gardens platforming look like tic-tac-fucking-toe. Conquering the challenges of the Basin, the Abyss, and the White Palace all together is a legendary feat only taken on by the fiercest of platforming veterans, but conquering such challenges gives you the most overwhelming, my cup runneth over feeling of gratification. It's like winning the lottery and getting struck by lightning at the same time. It's winning a free ticket to Kings Island and getting your dick sucked on the fucking Diamondback. Going through an Ohio-sized corn maze of buzzsaws, magic wasps, and haunted suits of armor just to get to that succulent second half of the King Soul and unlock the true ending is worth 10 times the struggle that I just described. And the best part is, once you're all done, you never have to fall victim to the perpetual whirring of a saw blade symphony ever again, at least until you attempt the Path of Pain. And then you may want to take some precautions. Wear a helmet so you don't damage your head too much when you inevitably start ramming your head into the blunt end of your desk. Take a step back and drink some orange juice or some absinthe, whatever keeps the heart pumping, you know? And come back in 15 minutes with a freshly positive attitude and continue stupidly dashing into saw blades left and right like the hopelessly dim-witted, single-celled, yabba-dabba dumbass that you are. Thanks for tuning into The Forge, if that's still even a valid outro at this point. I have no idea what this list is, and I'm pretty sure no one else did either, so if you would like to write scripts for The Forge, please get in touch with me by contacting your nearest apothecary and purchase a fresh chicken penis in which I will suggest for you to promptly insert into your own anus. I'm Rusty, have a nice fucking day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.